Please, boss. Don't put that thing over my face. Don't put me in the dark. I was afraid of the dark.
The Green Mile is a movie everyone thinks they know. It's the ultimate tearjerker, the story of a gentle giant and a miracle-working mouse. But here's the catch. The cast and crew have spent decades revealing details that change everything. What most people don't realize is that the film's most powerful moments are built on secrets hidden in plain sight. From Tom Hanks's private character backstory that explains his every move, to a set detail that predicted who would pass away, the truth of the mile is darker and deeper than fans ever imagined. Today, we're revealing what you truly missed. The unlikely journey to the mile. What most people don't realize is that The Green Mile, one of the most beloved films of all time, almost never happened. And that's putting it lightly. After director Frank Darabont's previous Stephen King adaptation, The Shawshank Redemption, was a commercial disappointment, studios were terrified of another 3-hour prison drama. Yeah, about that. Shawshank, now considered a masterpiece, barely made back its budget in theaters. So here's the deal. Darabont had to fight tooth and nail to even get The Green Mile greenlit. The only reason it moved forward was 2 words: Tom Hanks. Hanks was at the absolute peak of his fame, coming off massive hits like Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan. His involvement was the only thing that gave the studio confidence. But here's the catch. Securing Hanks led to the film's biggest challenge and its greatest triumph: the role of John Coffey. How could they possibly find an actor who was physically massive? We're talking well over 6 feet tall and hundreds of pounds, but who could also project the profound innocence and heartbreaking vulnerability of a child. It seemed impossible. The casting search was massive, looking at hundreds of actors and non-actors. The answer came from an unexpected place. Actor Bruce Willis suggested a guy he knew, a guy who at the time was mostly known for being a celebrity bodyguard. His name was Michael Clarke Duncan. Standing at a staggering 6 feet 5 and weighing over 300 pounds, Duncan had worked security for stars like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. His acting resume was tiny, mostly tough guy number 1 or bouncer in the background. He was so convinced he wasn't a real actor that he almost didn't audition. The crazy part is, during his screen test, Duncan was overcome with nervousness. But when he delivered the lines about being tired of people being ugly to each other, the entire room fell silent. Darabont and Hanks knew in that exact moment they had found their John Coffey. It was a 1 in a million shot. The studio, however, was not convinced they wanted a name. They pushed for a bigger star, but Darabont and Hanks held their ground. They knew the movie would not work without him. What fans have missed for decades isn't just that Duncan was an unknown, it's that Tom Hanks personally mentored him on set. Duncan, in later interviews, revealed he was terrified every day, suffering from crippling imposter syndrome. Hanks would pull him aside, run lines, and give him the confidence to deliver the performance that would eventually earn him an Academy Award nomination. The miracle audiences saw on screen was mirrored by the real-life miracle of his casting. A journey from bodyguard to Oscar nominee that is one of Hollywood's most inspiring and unlikely true stories. But the real secret, the one the cast points to, is how Duncan became Coffey. It wasn't just acting. To prepare, Duncan spent time studying people in palliative care and observing children to capture their unguarded, open-hearted reactions. He wasn't just playing a gentle giant, he was channeling a specific raw innocence. The performance was so powerful that it changed the atmosphere on set. Several crew members reportedly had to leave during his emotional scenes because they were crying too hard. This wasn't just a movie that almost didn't get made. It was a movie saved by a superstar's faith and built on the shoulders of a man who never knew he had greatness inside him. The film's very existence was a fight, and that fight infused every frame. But the fight to cast the film was nothing compared to the secrets hidden in the set itself. The psychology of the villains. Everyone's obsessed with the magic of The Green Mile, but the cast often points to the set as the real star. What most fans don't realize is that the entire prison block was a complete fabrication, built from scratch inside a massive Tennessee studio. Unlike Shawshank, which used a real defunct prison, Darabont needed total control. He hired production designer Terrence Marsh, an Oscar winner famous for huge films like Dr. Zhivago. And get this, Marsh designed the death row set with terrifying historical precision. That famous lime green linoleum floor that gives the mile its name, that was the exact shade used in many southern prisons of the era. But it wasn't just the floor. The light fixtures, the wiring, the width of the corridor, it was all designed to create a specific feeling. David Morse, who played Brutus Brutal Howell, talked about how the set became a character. It was built to feel oppressive. The further you walked down the mile toward the end, the darker the lighting became, subconsciously ratcheting up the dread. It wasn't just a backdrop, it was a psychological weapon. The most chilling detail? Old Sparky. The electric chair was not a prop. It was a fully functional machine built by special effects coordinator Charles Gibson, capable of creating the horrifying smoke and electrical effects seen in the film. This realism had a profound effect on the actors. For the botched procedure involving Dell, the cast was emotionally wrecked. The effects were so disturbingly realistic, using complex pyrotechnics and prosthetics, that Darabont insisted on shooting it with multiple cameras in as few takes as possible. It was too expensive and too emotionally draining to do over and over. Sam Rockwell, who played Wild Bill Wharton, said those execution scenes created a silence on set that was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. The set wasn't just authentic, it was haunted. So here's the deal with the film's villains. The cast has revealed that the director saw Percy Wetmore and Wild Bill Wharton as two sides of the same coin, and their connection is something most fans miss. Wild Bill is chaotic, animalistic evil, but Percy, he's the more terrifying kind, institutional, cowardly evil, the kind that hides behind rules and connections. Doug Hutchison, who played Percy, based the character's petty sadism on a real-life childhood bully. This gave his performance that skin-crawling authenticity. The crazy part is, the studio wanted to drastically cut Percy's role. They felt he was too distracting and that audiences just wanted to focus on Coffey, but Darabont refused. He argued that without Percy, the story loses its entire meaning. The film isn't just about a magical man, it's about a broken system. The system protects and promotes the Percys of the world while it grinds up the John Coffeys. That's the real tragedy. The karmic justice, where Coffey passes the disease from Melinda and into Percy, driving him insane, isn't just revenge. It's a symbolic act. The pure chaotic evil of Wild Bill, which Coffey absorbed, finds its rightful home in the vessel of petty, bureaucratic evil. But the set and villains are just the start. The real secrets are hidden in the smallest details, decoding the symbolism. For decades, audiences have cried over Mr. Jingles, the impossibly smart mouse who becomes Dell's companion. But what most fans have completely missed is the mouse's true purpose. He isn't just comic relief. The cast and crew have explained that Mr. Jingles is the film's moral compass. Basically, he's a test. Notice who is kind to the mouse and who isn't. It's the first clue to every character's soul. Dell, a man on the mile for terrible crimes, shows profound gentleness to the small creature, proving his capacity for redemption. Percy, on the other hand, wants to harm it simply because he can, revealing his inherent cruelty. Paul and the guards are initially annoyed by it, but their choice to protect it foreshadows their much bigger choice to protect John Coffey. The mouse is the film's central question in miniature. Do the vulnerable deserve protection, even at great personal cost? But here's the real wow factor that the cast loves to share. Mr. Jingles wasn't one mouse. It's not that simple, though. It took 15 different specially trained mice to play the part. A trainer named Boone Narr spent months working with them. They had stunt mice for running, hero mice for close-ups, and even a push-up mouse trained to push the tiny spool of thread. The actors, particularly Michael Jeter, Dell, had to spend weeks bonding with the animals so the connection looked real. And get this, the symbolism goes way deeper. The cast has pointed out other hidden meanings. Pay attention to the color green. It's not just the floor green appears almost every time doom is near, it's the color of the curtains in the execution chamber. It's the color of the reflection in Wild Bill's eyes when he first arrives. The film uses the color of life to signal the end of it. The healing scenes, too, are misunderstood. When Coffey heals Paul's infection or Melinda's tumor, it's not just physical. He's healing their souls. Paul begins to question his entire life's work. Melinda, after her ordeal, speaks with the innocence of a child, recognizing Coffee as a kindred spirit. Even the film's biblical references are missed. When Coffee gives his famous speech about being lonely as a sparrow in the rain, it's a direct echo of Psalm 102, which reads, "I am like a bird alone on a roof." This isn't just a sad line, it elevates Coffee from a magical character to a Christ-like figure, abandoned and suffering for the world's sins. Finally, the cast has revealed how the director used weather as a storytelling tool. The weather outside the prison always reflects the emotional turmoil inside. The night of Dell's horrific, botched procedure, a violent thunderstorm rages. The night Coffee is taken to heal Melinda, it's supernaturally still and quiet, as if the world is holding its breath. The crazy part? The only time you see a truly beautiful sunny day in the entire film is in the epilogue decades later. The sun doesn't shine on the mile. Peace only comes after the story is finally told. These details build the film's power, but the most powerful moment of all was almost left on the cutting room floor. Coffee's greatest fear. Everyone remembers the film's devastating climax. But what most fans don't know is that the single most heartbreaking line in the movie was almost different. When Paul asks John Coffey if he wants a hood, Coffey's simple human confession that he is afraid of the dark shatters the audience.
Don't put me in the dark. I was afraid of the dark.
It's the moment the supernatural being becomes terrifyingly human. This detail, taken directly from Stephen King's novel, is the key to the entire film. Despite his divine power to heal, he still has the simple fear of a child. This is why the guard's final act of mercy, leaving the hood off, is so profound. It's the one small piece of compassion they can give him. But the real secret, the one that shocks fans, is what happened after this scene. The crazy part is, studio executives desperately wanted the film to end right there. Yeah, about that, they wanted the credits to roll as soon as John Coffey passed. Their argument was simple. The movie was already long, over 3 hours, and this was the emotional peak. They felt the epilogue, which flashes forward to an elderly Paul Edgecombe in a nursing home, was slow, confusing, and unnecessary. Frank Darabont found himself in the biggest fight of his career. He flat out refused to cut the ending. He argued that the studio completely misunderstood the story. The movie isn't about John Coffey's end, it's about Paul Edgecombe's curse. It's about the consequences of living on. Coffey gave Paul the gift of a long life, but it was a punishment Paul is doomed to live on, carrying the sickness of the world he absorbed from Coffey and forced to watch everyone he loves, including his wife and even Mr. Jingles, pass away. That is the Green Mile. It's the long, lonely walk of a man who failed to save goodness when he saw it. What fans don't realize is that these bookend scenes, the ones the studio wanted to cut, were the very first things shot during production. Darabont started with the ending, framing the entire 3-hour story as a confession from a haunted man. Without that epilogue, the film is just a sad tragedy. With it, it's a profound meditation on guilt, mortality, and the unbearable weight of memory. There were other things left behind, too. Deleted scenes, known to the cast, would have added even more depth. There was an extended sequence showing Paul's first day on the mile, establishing his youthful idealism before the job hardened him. More importantly, there were more scenes with Paul's wife, Jan, played by Bonnie Hunt. These scenes showed how Paul's dark work on the mile was poisoning his home life, creating a tension that explains why he was so emotionally closed off. So was Paul Edgecombe's curse a fitting punishment for his failure, or was it the film's ultimate act of cruelty? Let us know your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden truths.